What's going on, Mr. Lee? How's everything going?
Philip Jones, I'm doing great. Doing great. Let's do it, brother.
Good evening. How's everybody doing today? My name is Philip Jones, Los Angeles, California.
I'm from the DMV, DC, Maryland, and Virginia area.
We appreciate you joining us for our first show on the Second Chance today. We got one powerful story for you. But before we get into that, we're going to have a real good friend of mine, Mr. Darren Cottrell, Elder Darren Cottrell, grace us with his presence and deliver a prayer for not only myself and Austin, Ms. Lee, but for everybody else who decides to come on our show from here on out and to bless the show itself. So let me get Mr. Cottrell.
What's
Take it away,
going
Mr.
on?
Cottrell. Appreciate you.
What's going on? I am excited and elated to be here on this evening. I'm honored that to take this task on, and we're going to jump right on into the river of worship. And so, Father, we honor you, we glorify you, we bless your wonderful and holy name. Father, we thank you that you have, oh God, connected the Los Angeles and the DMV area, oh God, in a crusade, oh God, and in a way, oh God, to reach people, to bring awareness, oh God, and not only just awareness, but to touch and agree, oh God, to bring forth stories and to bring forth healing and to bring forth transformation, oh God, to oh God, your people. And so, God, we thank you that this was divinely inspired, God, that this, oh God, as they have walked this journey, oh God, as they have taken this road, God, that you, oh God, have brought these two young brothers together, oh God, to bring forth the transformation, to bring forth a difference, to bring forth and make a change, oh God. We thank you right now, oh God. We understand that organ donation, oh God, is very vital, oh God, as you have set the precedent, oh God, to love our neighbor as we love ourselves, oh God. And so, God, how much more could you show that you love your brother unless you would sacrifice for him? So, God, we thank you, God. We declare that everyone that comes onto this show, oh God, will experience your Holy Ghost, that will experience your power, oh God, that will hear the test and the testimony, oh God, that deliverance would be on this show, oh God, that healing would be on this show, oh God, that as we're hearing the testimony, God, more and more people will come, oh God, more and more people will hear, oh God, more and more people will sign up, oh God, God, to be organ donors, God, to walk, oh God, and to be assisting, oh God, to those who would need a helping hand, God. We thank you now. We declare, oh God, that every person that comes onto this show, oh God, will be divinely favored by you, God. We thank you and we bless your holy and righteous name, God. We know that you don't do anything by accident. So, God, we count it all joy right now that you, oh God, have allowed this to come into creation in such a time as this, God, to understand that even in the midst of the pandemic, God, we can touch and agree, we can connect, and we can still see your face, oh God, through the lives of one another. And so, God, we thank you for this now. We bless your holy name, and it is in Jesus' name we pray. Amen, amen, and amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen. Well, brother, I appreciate you. I know you got to get off to work. So I'm let you go and take care of your kids, man. Again, I'm definitely going to give you a call tomorrow for sure.
Yes, sir. I look forward to talking to you.
Appreciate you.
Wish you the best.
Thank you, my man. You be safe out here, Mr. Lee.
So we're gonna get down to what we're here for. Mr. Lee, go ahead, sir.
Smile on my face. So you already know who I'm getting ready to introduce for the first day of International Women's History Month and in observance of World Kidney Month as well. My lovely, beautiful mother, as well as my first kidney living donor, Miss Clarissa Lee, my lovely mother.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you, Miss Lee.
I'm honored. I am honored. Thank you, Philip and Austin, for the opportunity.
Oh, it's not a problem at all. We appreciate you being here.
It's great to see you guys. Wonderful to see you guys doing this. A
So
second chance is an awesome thing to have.
thank you very much. Thank you. So
Shoot.
Miss Lee kind of knows the story, so I'm gonna let Miss Lee take it away from here.
About a second chance. I'm not here to be with my brother Philip Jones without that second chance. If you didn't, decide to, have me and be able to save my life, and if you want to just go ahead and take it away, because I could go into it, but I want to hear it. I want the people to hear it from your side, how God has blessed us, how God continues to bless us through this story. So Ma, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I could start my story with uh, being a military family. We were living in Germany. Been there. We had been there for almost 4 years. It was our last year of our time there. My husband was in the Air Force. I had 4 kids at that time, and Austin was on his way. He was the fifth, and we were kind of shocked but excited. Um, and so as a mom, I I wanted to get an ultrasound. Okay, so I wanted an ultrasound. I found out I was pregnant, and first thing I wanted to have an ultrasound done. Um, I had an ultrasound done with my previous pregnancies, and so being young, I mean, I was a young mother, um, and I wanted to have a picture of my baby, and just like I had with my others. But for some reason, the doctor, had examined me, and he was very sure of my due dates, and I looked well, and he thought that everything looked fine as far as he was concerned, and he didn't see any reason to do an ultrasound at that time. But I kind of pushed for it. I was, and it was more so because I just wanted a picture. I just wanted a picture. I wanted a picture of my pregnancy, and he tried to convince me, oh, everything's fine. We don't need to do that right now. But I persisted, and so then he went ahead and said, okay, well, I'll let you, I'll set you up to have this ultrasound. And so when I actually went to the ultrasound, it took a while. Uh, they did. They didn't tell me that they detected something, but I kind of figured something was going on in the room, because people were leaving out, coming back in, and come and take a look, and this. But no one said anything to me about anything was wrong, or anything looked wrong. So days later, after leaving the ultrasound and going home, and they called my husband at work. He's, like I said, he's in the military. They called him up at work, and they said, well, we need your wife to come back. We saw something on the ultrasound, and we need her to come back. And so I came back, had all the kids with me, with four kids in tow. And they told me, well, the doctor asked me, before telling me that anything was wrong, the doctor asked me, well, what is going, how many kids do you have? And I said, well, I have 4 kids. And, my husband and I were there. And so he said, well, do you, we think this is what you need to do. We think you just need to terminate. And I'm like, terminate what? What's going on? What's happening? Uh, well, we saw something on the ultrasound that doesn't look good. It was a large mass. They saw a dark spot in the middle of the forming baby's abdomen, and they just didn't want to. They didn't want me to go through anything. They just wanted me to just abort, basically, and that was not an option. That was never an option. So we decided, no, that's not an option. God brought him this far. It was 12, 13, 14 weeks, I think I was pregnant. It's going to be up to God to sustain him. And so it was a shock. It was very shocking to be told, your baby is is possibly going to be severely mentally retarded. I mean, just, and that those were the words that they used back then. I know we don't use those words now, but that's basically what they told me back then. They said that he was not, if he was born, that he would probably be stillborn. And with my husband and myself, and I know God was already working, it was not an option to have an abortion. It was the only option was to do everything we could to save our baby's life. And whatever God decided to do, that would be on God, but not on us. We were going to do what God wanted us to do. And so with that being said, they gave me names of when we were in Germany at the time, they gave me names of a German physician to go and see, to follow me for the rest of the pregnancy. And so I went, and I'm so glad that I did. I'm so glad that I followed their lead with the German doctor. The German doctor gave me hope, so much hope. And it was, he was the one that really kind of confirmed that we were doing the right thing. Okay. That God was going to be, he was going to take care of the situation. And that's exactly what he said. He said, whatever happens with the baby, you'll be able to handle it. Okay. So one of the things that I had to do when I saw this physician, the German doctor, I can't even remember his name at this moment, but he did 2 procedures on me while I was carrying Austin. Very painful procedures. One was a bladder tap, and the other one was an amniocentesis. And if you know what a bladder tap is, first of all, they went in to withdraw some fluid, and then the second time they went in to withdraw fluid from my sac, and then they withdrew fluid from Austin. That was very painful because I had to be very still. There's no anesthesia. There's just, just this needle. And my husband, he, to this day, if you ask him, he's like, I don't know how she did it, but I know how I did it. It was all God. Right. He kept me and allowed me to go through that, even though it was painful. I mean, I'd do it again if I could. If I could give him another kidney, I could do that. I would do that as well. But that was very, very painful. But I'm so grateful to the German doctor for having the presence of mind to give me that hope, because that's what kept me going. All the procedures that I had to go through, all the procedures that he had to go through. So I'm in Germany, having all these tests done, seeing this German doctor, and going back and forth to the American doctors at the Army hospital there. At some point, they wanted me to be evaluated in the United States. So I'd gone several months carrying Austin, doing everything I could, trying to eat healthy, taking care of myself, taking vitamins, doing all of that, but knowing that there was something going on within him, and they really couldn't tell me that they could make a diagnosis before he was born. But what they told me was that it looks like he is his ureters. If you know anything about your system, his bladder and his ureters, there was some kind of blockage that was preventing the urine from coming out, enough of it coming out. So before Austin was, before he was born, there was very little kidney function because of the damage to his forming kidneys. His kidneys were just barely forming, but they were also being damaged at the same time because the pressure of the backup of the urine wasn't coming out, so it was backing up and it was putting pressure on his forming kidneys. And so that's what So he was really, when he was born, he had very little function in his kidneys, very little. I think, but they told me was less than 10% function in his kidneys. So, so like I said, they wanted me to be evaluated to see whether or not I should give birth in Germany or whether I should, um, you know, go, be moved to the U.S. and be seen by doctors there. And so, I would say around 24, 25 weeks along in my pregnancy, my husband and I boarded a plane with other sick people from Germany, military families, military children that were sick that needed to be seen in the United States. And we took a plane to Washington, D.C. And we went to Walter Reed Army Medical Center at that time. They wanted to evaluate me there. And so I met American doctors again, Army doctors that wanted to, they didn't want me to go through with the procedures again. Why I had to fight for my kid's life even before he was born. Why they would want me not to do these procedures is beyond me. But that was my choice. My choice was to do everything in my power, no matter how painful, no matter how, whatever the how hard the situation was going to be. If I could do it, I was going to do it. And so the thing that I needed to do at that point was another bladder tap. They needed to withdraw fluid out of Austin's bladder to kind of give him some relief. And they really didn't want to do it. What they said is you're gonna be, subjecting yourself to more pain and going through all of this, and your baby's not even going to be born. He's going to be stillborn. This is what they were telling me, and I'm like, that's not my call.
Right.
Let's just do it. Okay, let's just do it. I mean, they really tried to talk me out of it, and that wasn't. I had to continue to fight for my baby's life. Whatever was going to happen, it was going to be on God, not on me. It was going to be on God. And so I was, no, let's do the procedure. So the second time I had to have this procedure done, because at that point he was moving around, in the first time I had it done, he was not moving at the time, but he's grown. He was growing in my womb, and he was moving to the point where they had to go in and anesthetize him first before they can go back in and do, withdraw the urine out of his bladder and give him some relief, and also test the urine. So it was, again, extremely painful, and not only it was very nerve-wracking, because I'm watching on the screen, I'm looking at my baby in the womb, but doing the sort of like the ultrasound where you can see the picture of him moving around. And then they had to go in and find a leg and make sure it was a leg and not a chest, and puncture something that could be vital. Right. And so they were able to find his thigh, and they were able to anesthetize him. And I'm looking at the screen, and I can see him slowly stop moving, because he was, they kind of put him to sleep, I guess you could say. And then they went back in and was able to pinpoint where his bladder was. Had to make sure it was his bladder, because you don't want to puncture something, right, vital at that time. And they were able to find his bladder, and they were able to extract enough urine to keep him from, to give him some relief. To give him some relief. And so that was another very hard time. But during that time, while we were there in Washington, D.C., and meeting these doctors and having these procedures being done, I met some very wonderful people that to this day we are still good friends, and they happen to be Austin's godparents. I didn't know them. I come from a family where we have a lot of great faith in our family. My father was a minister. You know, my brothers and my sisters and all of us, we grew up in church. And I had my own relationship with the Lord, and that's what helped me. Um, so my father got on the phone before I even left Germany. He got on the phone and he contacted someone who he knew in the DC area because he knew I was going to need some support. He knew I was going to need someone to come and pray with me. He knew I was going to need, I don't even, anyway, he knew I was going to need that.
Right.
And so I met Mr. and Reverend Dixon at the time. He was not pastoring at that time. He had been pastor before, but he wasn't pastoring at that time. I met him and his wife. My dad gave me his phone number and had me call them when I got to the area, and they came. They came to see about me, and they are still seeing about me to this day. They are still seeing about me. I love them so very much, and they are my pastor and first lady to this day. They are. They've been a great support to us. So they came and they met me. They didn't know me. They came and they met me, met my husband. My mother was there at the time as well, and they said, anything you need, just let us know. We're here for you. They were just a great support, and it just so happened that after we spent time there at Walter Reed, and the doctors, had done the procedure, the urine came back looking good. Nothing abnormal about it. They were okay to send me back to Germany. So I went back to Germany to, finish up my pregnancy. And at that time, my husband was almost ready to be leaving PCSing, having a permanent change of station. His duty station was, going to be in Florida. So we went back to Germany, and I went into labor with Austin at normal. No, it was a normal birth. They were okay with me having him, in Germany, and so I did. And he was a 9-pounder, so he had a lot going for him, because he was a bigger baby,
Right.
full term. But he did have these issues with his kidneys and his urinary system. So the night after I gave birth, the doctors come into the room and they tell me, we're going to make arrangements for you and your baby to go back to the United States. We can't handle taking care of him here, and we think you'd be better off in the U.S. So that was a shocker, that I was going to have to leave Germany, leave my family, my husband, and my 4 kids at the time. Austin had a sister and 3 brothers, and so I had to leave them and take Austin, and we boarded about I would say about a week or 5 days later, after giving birth. I had to take him and board a medevac flight back to Washington, D.C., to Walter Reed. That was our world turning upside down, because I had to leave my kids with my husband to pack up my house and pack up the kids and move. They had to move without me because, like I said, we were getting ready to change duty stations, and I had to go by myself. So it was me and my baby. They had catheterized Austin, if you know what that is. He was catheterized before we left Germany. So I got to hold him on the plane, holding him, trying to bond with him, and we fly from Germany to Washington, D.C. We landed on Andrews Air Force Base. And I get to when we touch down. I'm looking out the windows of the plane, and I see all these buses and ambulances. So everybody that's on this plane or that's being accompanied are either sick or their family members are sick, and they're bringing them to the U.S. to be taken care of in the military hospitals in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at like I said, I'm looking at the plane out the windows, and I see all these buses, these medical buses and ambulances, and then these people come on board onto the plane, which were doctors, nurses, EMTs, everybody, and they called out my son's name, and they came, and I'm sitting there holding him, and they come to me and they take him out of my arms because I'm saying this is I have Austin Lee, the baby,
Mm-hmm.
and they take him out of my arms and they whisk him away. Next thing they said, well, we'll see you at the hospital, and I'm like, I don't know where y'all. I don't even know where I am. I don't know where I'm going. They take my baby and then they're gone. They were gone, and they were calling all these names off on the plane, and they were, people were going. They had some people had babies in incubators. Some people were, sick, but were ambulatory. They could move and they could, walk off the plane or whatever. And then the rest of us got off after all the patients got off the plane. And I'm so heartbroken because, this is my baby, and they came and took him out of my arms, and I don't even know who these people are. I don't even know their names, but I had to trust that they were going to take care of him, and that I was going to see him again. So I get off the plane, and they have people to escort us to different buses to get on, and the guy that came and took the baby out of my arms reassured me, oh, you're going to see him again. We'll see you at the hospital. We're going to go, we're going to go have him admitted, and you'll see him when you get to the hospital. So, I'm a nervous wreck. I'm a nervous wreck right now thinking about it. It's all coming back. So I get on the bus, and if you know where Andrews Air Force Base is, and you know where Walter Reed is, it's a good little ride down the Beltway. You get on 95, and then you don't get off till you get to Georgia Avenue. I know that now, but I didn't know that then.
Right.
It seemed like the longest ride ever, and I'm just a nervous wreck. I'm just a nervous wreck. I just didn't know where my baby was, and what they were doing, and just praying and trusting God that he was going to be okay when I got to the hospital, and that he was going to be there when I got there.
Right.
And so we did get to, it was kind of late in the evening. We get to the hospital, and I don't know anybody there. I don't know anything about the hospital. I'm by myself. I don't have a spouse. There's other families there. They're together, and I'm there by myself. That was hard. That was very hard. But about 2.5 hours later, they were able to take me to the neonatal unit where he was already in a incubator waiting, hooked up and all that good stuff. And
right.
And that was a great, just being able to see him and know that he was safe and that he was okay. Did my heart good. But it still was hard. I was very lonely. I was, by myself, like I said, and my, other kids back home, my husband, and, I had to rely on just trusting God a lot the whole time. So, they gave me a room to stay. If you know anything about the Army, the Army doesn't. Back there at Walter Reed, the Army lodging facility right there by the base was not the best, and so I had to sleep in a kind of cold room and with scratchy blankets. And it was just really hard. And then you're there by yourself. But I did meet some people that helped me out. And of course, I got on the phone and I called my pastor, who at that time was not my pastor, and let him know, hey, I'm here. You guys need to come and see about me. And they did.
Right.
They when they came and saw me when I got back to the United States at Walter Reed in DC, they opened up their home to me. And I did not stay another night in that lodging facility in the army, on the army base. So I went to stay with them, and I stayed with them for a while. I stayed with them while Austin was in the hospital being taken care of. And sometime during, with me staying there, their son, he had just recently gotten his driver's license. And he was so super excited to be able to, take me back and forth from Oxon Hill, which is where they were living at that time, to drive me back and forth to the hospital and drop me off. And then, let me know when you're ready to come back home. And
Right.
I'll come and get you. He was about 16 years old, had just gotten his license. And, and the thing about it is I could have, they offered to let me use their car to drive back and forth. But I don't know if you know anything about driving in Germany, but I did not want to learn how to drive in Germany. I thought they were crazy. I thought that, they just drove really fast and it just was terrifying. It was terrifying, but I learned how to do it. I was able to do it. And then when I got to the US, I was afraid to drive in the US after being in Germany for 4 years and learning to drive on the Autobahn and doing all that good stuff. But when I came to the US, it's like, oh my goodness. Oh, these people they're just driving all kind of crazy. I was scared to drive when I got back to the United States. So when they said, oh, you can have the keys to the car, you can go back and forth, see about the baby and stay as long as you want. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And so their son drove me for a long time. He would do that. He would take me, drop me off, and come back and pick me up for a long time. And then once I did muster up the nerve to drive, then of course it made it a whole lot easier. And so,
Right.
like I said, they really were a great support for me. I was making sure that Austin was okay. And so during that time while he was there, the urologist at that time, his name was Dr. Scoop. I remember him because he explained things so well to me. He ended up having to do a surgery on Austin to take his ureters and detach them from his bladder and attach them to his back so that he would have openings, which were ostomies. So he had what they call bilateral ureterostomies. And so both of his ureters were opened up in his back. And so he had a hole on each side of his back that would drain his urine into a diaper. And that's how he was until after the transplant. Once he got transplanted, he was able to function more normal as a little boy. But up until that time, he did have ostomies. He had which meant sponge baths all the time, and he was always at a risk of infection and always at a and it would be on his back. And so it took him a while to learn. He would watch his father and brothers, whatever, go to the bathroom, how little boys do. But because he didn't have functioning parts, he couldn't. He just could watch and
Right.
and imitate, but never really was able to. Not until after he had his transplant. So he had a lot of challenges in the beginning. He was diagnosed as failure to thrive. He threw up constantly, projectile vomiting constantly. Um, there was never a month where Austin was not in the hospital from the time that he was born until the time he got his transplant. He was in and out of Walter Reed Army National Medical Center and Children's National Medical Center. He was in and out both hospitals all the time. But if you know anything about Austin, he is a fighter, and he has a good heart. And even as a baby, I'll just tell you a story. We would be on the elevator, and Austin would be in the
This one is.
stroller. He'd be in the stroller, right? And as sick as he was, he spoke to everyone. He hi, hi, and if you didn't say hi back, he was going to continue to say hi until you said hi to him. So we were in an elevator one time at I want to say in the hospital, and there were 3-4 other people in the elevator with us, and he was in his stroller, and I had his IV pole, and he was saying hi to this man, and I guess he wasn't getting his attention. And I mean, Austin was nearly out of his stroller in the man's face saying hi. But that's how he was. He spoke to everyone. He always had a big smile, bright eyes. People were always bowled over by his eyelashes and his eyebrows, and I think they still are. But he was a special baby and a special kid, and we kind of knew that early on, that was in his nature. And so if you know anything about what he does now, it's amazing. He inspires me, and just knowing how he began, how he started. It's just like this second chance and third chance. Yeah, he's had that, and God's been with him every step of the way. Like I said, he was in and out of hospitals. He'd be dehydrated and eyes sunken in his head. I mean, just really, 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 really sick. To the point where sometimes he'd be, we'd think he's cold. He'd be shaking and shivering, and but still, playing, and he didn't walk until he was like, almost 2.5, 3 years old. Mm-hmm. He had a bone issue which normally, because kidney failure will mess up your bones, and because he was so young, he would sit on the floor and hop like a quadriplegic would do, because he couldn't walk. Right. He wasn't strong enough to walk, and his bones weren't strong enough to hold him up. So he would just hop, and that's how he would get around the house. That's how he would get around. He went to a special daycare, and that's how he would get around. He would just hop. He would hop everywhere. That's how he would get around. And so, like I said, he went to a special daycare in Georgetown, where they wanted to work with him on, because he had some developmental delays, and he didn't eat. I would have to put a NG tube down and feed him with a pump. And at what, when he went on dialysis, he also had a heart monitor on. So he had a heart monitor in his room near his crib. He had a dialysis machine next to his crib, and he had the feeding pump next to his crib. And there were several nights where all three would be alarming at the same time. I mean, just going off. And he'd be throwing up, and then the tube would come out of his, out of his mouth or out of his nose. And we went through a lot. But looking back, everything was all worth going through to see where he is now, and to know that there were several doctors that weren't trying to give him a chance. And if I could talk to them now, I would, look at this, you were trying to look at what you were trying to deny the world, deny his community, he just has been a blessing, an amazing young man. That first going on dialysis as an infant, learning how to eat, learning how to walk, all of those things, I think have helped mold and shape him and given him that stamina and that, go for it type attitude, and don't let anything stop you, and that's basically how he's lived his life, not letting anything stop him, not no obstacles are too big to overcome. And so um, that first transplant happened in 1993. Yeah, he was 4 years old. So me being his donor, or wanting to be his donor, I had to go through a lot of testing. One thing that I recall is I'm almost 6 feet. I always tell people I'm 5'11" and a half. So I'm really tall. I'm very tall, and I come from a line of big bone people. So anyway, so the doctors wanted me to lose 100 pounds at that time, 100. And I got on, got on a mission to start dropping this weight. I was going to the gym twice a day, in the morning and then in the evening. I'd get on the treadmill. I was doing whatever I had to do. And as well as taking Austin back and forth to the doctors, and so I'm trying to lose this weight because I need to give my baby this kidney. I'm electing to do this, and so I decided, hey, I'm gonna do everything I can to lose this weight. And so it began to come off. The weight began to come off, but it wasn't coming off the way one particular doctor who was going to do our transplant or take my kidney. It wasn't coming off fast enough for him. The nurses, his dialysis nurse and other nurses at Children's were very encouraging when they'd see me come in, and they'd say, "Oh gosh, you're looking good. We see you dropping the weight, and we know Austin's going to get this kidney real soon." And literally, he was dying. He was actually dying, and I had what he needed. I had this kidney, and we were a match. We were a very good match, and the only thing that was holding us back was this weight. And I was doing everything I could. Then it got to a point where one of the nurses said, you need to go back to the doctor and just have him take another look at you. You've lost a lot of weight. And let's see what he says now. It's because it's time. He's just, he's really having a hard time. He was like I said, in and out of the hospitals, not, just having a hard time. And so I went back to the doctor, made an appointment, went back to him. And this now you gotta know that as big as I am, as tall as I am, I'm going to see a pediatrician, a pediatric doctor, a children's doctor. And I'm an adult, and I'm a nice sized woman. And so I just feel like he did not, he's used to seeing these small, sickly, babies,
Right.
children. And so that wasn't my case. And so I was very healthy, just overweight, and but I was willing. I'm going to do everything I can to fight for my baby's life. And so he says to me at that particular, I don't want to say his name, but he says to me, "Have you done everything in your power? What are you doing?" And at that point I had lost half the weight. I was down 50 pounds. And so, I told him, I'm eating better, exercising twice a day, and the weight is coming off. And he's like, well, then he starts naming this stuff. Did you try Jenny Craig? Did you try Weight Watchers? you know, not, that I hadn't done that. I was doing, it was just the grace of God.
Right.
That's what I was doing. Whatever,
Definitely.
whatever he given me to do, that's what I was doing. And so I was humiliated at that doctor's appointment, very humiliated, because what he basically said was, okay, well, if I cut you here, you're gonna have a big gaping hole. That was not, that wasn't good. That was just so horrible. I was so devastated by the way I was treated at that doctor's appointment. So I didn't care if I ever saw him again. But I, he kind of sent me off with, you need to, contact me when you lose some more weight,
Right.
basically is what he said. So I was devastated, like I said. But the nurses said, mm-mm, get a second opinion. So I did. I went to Washington Hospital Center, and they gave me the name of a doctor to go see. I made an appointment with him, went in, um, and he was very warm. And he asked me, well, why are you here? And I said, well, my baby is dying and he needs my kidney. And I was told I needed to lose 100 pounds. I lost 50, and that wasn't good enough for the doctor. So here I am. I need a second opinion. So he says, well, did you, are you comfortable with the weight that you lost? And I'm like, yes, sir, I am. And he says, well, when do you want to do it? When do you want to do the surgery? When do you want to do the transplant? It was just, I was just amazed. And I know God was, he was right there in the room with me. And those words coming out of his mouth were the best thing I had ever heard. Let's do it. When do you want to do it, basically? And so he said, okay, my people are going to call his people. So when he said my people, those were my people then. And they're going to call Austin's people over at Children's, and we're going to coordinate. You'll have a transplant coordinator. He'll have a transplant coordinator, and we're going to coordinate this thing. And they did. They coordinated it, and I was at Washington Hospital Center. This was July of '93. So my surgery was first, of course, and Austin was in Children's. Now, if you know where Children's Hospital is and you know where Washington Hospital Center is, they're right across the parking lot from each other.
Mm.
So when the transplant happened, I was in the OR at Hospital Center, and he was in the OR at Children's. And so they were communicating by phone, letting him know, okay, how far the surgery had gone with me and when to start opening him up over there. And so when they did take the kidney out, they were able to, put it on ice, and they had a team of people. I had my pastor, I had my pastor's wife, I had church members, I had my mom and dad. There were all these people supporting us, and they were there at the hospital when the transplant was happening, and they came, and so we have video of when they came out of the OR with the box and walking down the hall of Washington Hospital Center, and taking the kidney, walking it across the parking lot underneath the ropes and into the ER, up into where the OR is at Children's. So they literally walked it across the street to Children's, where he was being opened up and ready to receive it. And so we were apart. Transplant went well. They said once they attached everything, he started peeing on the table, and he's good to go. He was good
Just
to go.
couldn't hold it in, could you, Austin? Just couldn't do it.
So
Ready to rock
at
and
that
roll.
time,
I understand, man. But
so at that time, my dad had to go back home, but my mom stayed with us, so she helped take care of me at that time. So I was in Washington Hospital Center being taken care of there, and he was at Children's. And so my husband and my mom would be with him over there at that hospital, and then every now and then they would come over where I was, where I was there for at that time the surgery. My scar goes from almost my navel to up my side, up my back. It's now I know it's laparoscopically done, but back then it was not. So I had a huge scar and a lot of healing, and you know the good thing was that they had video cameras, and so we have pictures and video of this, the organ going from one hospital to the other. Then we also have my husband would video Austin or video me greeting Austin, talking to Austin, and then would show it to him when he would get over to that hospital, and then he would video Austin and then show it to me. And of course I would be very emotional because I'm not there. I'm trying to recover. I'm trying to recoup from this surgery, and my baby was doing well, and just thank God that everything worked. Everything just was as planned. Even with all the obstacles and the setbacks and the no, don't do it. No, you can't do it. It's amazing how God works, and everything that we went through was very instrumental in building us in our faith to this day. And I'm just grateful to God for that experience. And if you know of anybody who needs a transplant, or if you know of anybody who wants to donate, it's the greatest gift that you can give someone. I mean, I'm a mother and I gave to my son, but I'm telling you, there's so many people that are waiting on organs. There's so many people that need, and that just need that second chance. And it's really, back then it was painful for me, but it wasn't that bad. And it's even better nowadays because it is laparoscopic, and the recovery time is cut much, much shorter than it was back 25, 27, 28, 29 years ago. Yeah, it's much, I'd do it again if I could. But it didn't change anything. I don't feel any different. I'm living my life. I don't have any health challenges due to giving a kidney. I've been living, I want to say this, I'm going on my 27th year with one kidney. You only need one. Share your other one.
Yeah.
Share it. Somebody, you have two. You only need one. People, if Austin hadn't got this kidney, the first one, I don't know what, I just don't know where he would be, what he'd be doing. But when you think about what he is doing, he's contributing to the society in a way that is impacting people's lives. He's giving back. He's able to work. He's able to contribute. He's able to do a lot of things because of that transplant, and not just the first one, but the second one too.
Right.
So I'm just. I mean, there's so much more I could say, but the transplant worked, and it worked for a good 14 and a half years. And he tried to live. When you're 4 years old and you get a transplant, you don't remember a lot of what happened before the transplant because you're just too young. You just know what people have told you. And like I said, my church family were very supportive. My church family, my pastor and his wife, they were very supportive. And so you have to have a good support system around you to help get through this. And your family goes through a lot. Our kids went through a lot. Our kids went through this with him. He shared a room with a brother that had to share it with the dialysis machine and the feeding pump and the heart monitor. So, it's a family thing. Your whole life is impacted. Your family's life is impacted. You know, there were times where my husband and I couldn't go the same places at night because somebody had to be at home to put Austin on the machine. So somebody always had to be at home at night. You know, so it does take a toll on your family life, but the outcome is so much is great. The outcome is great, even with all the obstacles and all the struggles. The outcome is the best thing, and so I thank God for that, for him and for his life, and for just sparing him not once but twice.
Yeah, it's one thing you did say that I can definitely attest to is the fact that a support system is very important.
It is.
I definitely know for a fact that that's the only reason that I'm still here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy you said 1993. He was getting a transplant, and I was beginning my journey. With kidney disease. I got sick when I was 4 years old. Me and Austin about same major birthdays, a
Wow.
couple months before mine. So he was kind of fixing his, and mine was kind of messing up. So,
Oh
but
wow.
I was blessed to have two parents who were able to put aside their own differences. They had just gotten divorced a couple of years before that, but even when I got sick, I had kidney disease due to post strep, and so
Mm.
I remember when everything kind of started taking a toll, and I remember it is crazy you say 4 years. I think 4 years old is that mark where the memory thing kind of starts to kick in for you because I'll never forget this. I was 4 years old, sitting in my grandparents' living room eating cereal, and I remember, parents try to tell kids stuff to scare them a lot. The main like, if you stare at the TV, your eyes gonna go crooked and stuff like that. Like,
Right. Mm-hmm.
at the time, I'm like, I remember I was like staring at the TV. Me and my grandparents all used to eat breakfast in the living room or in the den area. And I remember I was sitting there right between them. They had two rocking chairs beside me, and it was like clockwork for us every morning. And I remember I was sitting there and I was staring at TV, and I remember in my mind I said, "I better start eating again because I got a feeling my grandmama gonna pop me if I don't start eating." But as soon as I started eating, I went into a major seizure,
Oh my.
and I remember just out shaking and shaking and shaking, and my grandfather picked me up and took me into the living room. He sat there with me, he held me, he rocked me. They got a hold of my dad, and by the time he got in there, it had slowed down. So he got me in a truck, took me to Children's Hospital of Los Angeles, and I remember when I got there, uh, I got out the truck and went into another one. Right, so he got me inside, and when I got inside, the doctors came out. I went into another one, and they saw it. So one thing my dad always says is that was probably the best thing that happened to him because they were able to know what was going on by the type of seizure that I had at the time. So, um, I remember I was in there, and mom would be there during the day, dad would be at night because they had different working schedules, but they were both there. And so I couldn't ask for anything other than that, regardless of how their personal relationship was. They were able to put aside those things, those differences, and still make sure that I was okay, I was taken care of. So it's that statement of a support system is beyond true. Like I tell me and Austin talk about it all the time, and I told him, we're doing stuff for why not, and I said, you know, one of the most important things outside of a donor is a support system because we can't fight this by ourselves. It's not there's not a way for us to, especially like me and Austin have been dealing with his kids. Like I mean, we can fight, but how much fighting can we do on our own?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's definitely been a long time. Like I said, Austin has a little bit more time, than I do, but you know, um, it's been a long ride, man. I definitely have respect for Austin, 100%. I appreciate you for what you did for your son. But if we're going to take a quick break for a second, let you get yourself back together, and right now we're going to play a quick video that Austin Lee did for the Why Not School Supply Drive a couple months back. And give me 1 second, let it load up. There we go.
Yeah, me in here, man, inspired.
Hold on 1 second, it's coming back up. There we go.
Here in Washington, D.C. on behalf of the Why Not Foundation to give back to our annual Back to School Drive, and I'm here and happy to provide the patients with a school supply drive. These kids and these families, they are going to be excited because think about it, they are on hemodialysis for 4 and 5 hours a week, 3 times a week, and just being able to be in dialysis and have someone come in and bring you school supplies or just bring you a gift in general just to kind of uplift your spirits. Because I remember when I was once in the same predicament and I was very tired, I was kind of down and depressed, and just being able to have these kids have the experience of just someone bringing them something, letting them know that somebody is thinking about them and someone is caring about them, and just being able to be an impactful, voice in their life. I just want to be able to, continue to uplift kids' spirits, let them know that they can do the exact same thing that I'm doing as well as myself because I'm extremely blessed. And I just want to thank everyone who supported me in the Why Not Back to School Supply Drive. And I just want to say a big thank you. Well, giving back to the hospital means so much to me because I grew up in this hospital. I had 2 kidney transplants, and just being able to give back school supplies and being able to brighten these kids' days who have gone through the same situation that I actually went through because me, my family, and my friends, watching me grow up here in this hospital and the staff just being so loving and caring and just being able to grow in the community of the DMV and just to give back to my home, my second home that I call it here at Children's National means so much to me. They're so close to my heart. Like I always say, the DMV, I love you all. Thank you for being a part of this journey with me. And I'm just going to continue to do more and more, giving back to Children's National, to pediatric transplant patients, pre and post transplant, as I go on throughout my life with my journey with Why Not. So let's continue to impact lives, make a difference in these children's lives and the families' lives, and let's make it happen. Why not?
Why not?
Why not? Why not? So we kind of got the meat to the Austin Lee, Clarissa Lee story from the beginning. If you want to, finish up or have anything that you want to add to it, or Austin have any questions, I'm here pretty much here for the ride right now. I'm listening. I'm trying to take in all this emotion and powerfulness. So, if I have any questions, I'll definitely ask. So go ahead, Austin.
Come on, when you think about when you were talking about the doctors didn't really have the diagnosis, just so everyone out there will know that the actual diagnosis you remember was PUV, posterior.
Yeah, PUV, posterior urethral valves. Yeah, he had PUV syndrome.
Yep, and then and you remember me growing up, if you could talk about this, how I didn't even like talking about this stuff. Remember?
No.
I didn't like talking to my friends about organ donation, about kidney transplants, because we were just growing up in PG County.
Right.
We were just, I knew I had the health problems, but I just went on like I was everybody else. So I didn't really, it.
Yeah, Austin was very, I'm not gonna say shy, but he wanted to be seen as normal. So he didn't talk about his, going to the hospital all the time, taking medicines all the time. or feeling, sick or whatever. He never wanted to talk about that. He just wanted people to think that he was just as normal as anyone else. Okay. And so, no, he wasn't shy, but he just wasn't outspoken. He wasn't, he didn't share any of his, what was going on. And I know a lot of it had to do with, because at a young age, he went through this from birth to 4. So after, 4 years old, going into a regular school, kindergarten, and beyond, especially like middle school. Oh no. Mm-mm. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you the story. When Austin was in middle school, his first year in middle school, of course, I was kind of protective of him because of his condition. Mm-hmm. And being in middle school, I wanted to, his neighborhood school was not an option for him at the time. So I worked in the school system, or I still work in the school system to this day, PG County Public Schools. And so he was able to come to school with me. He was able to, at the school that I was at that time was actually a middle school. And so his seventh grade year, he rode to school every day with me. And actually, like, I said earlier, that Austin was developmentally delayed. So it took him a while to kind of learn things and get, just catch up to the other kids. So at that seventh grade age level, he still had some challenges, but because we had some excellent teachers in that school, and the programs in that school, and the principal in that school, it was excellent. They didn't give Austin a break. They pushed Austin. And so because he was kind of below average, it brought him up some. It brought him up quite a bit, and it taught him some things. And it really challenged him. And I think that 7th grade year helped him so much to grow. But after that 7th grade year, at 8th grade year, he was like, "Oh no, I'm going to I'm going to my neighborhood school. I'm not going to school with you anymore. I'm not riding school with you anymore." Yeah. So he wanted to be he wanted to be with the neighborhood kids, going to the neighborhood school, and he did, and he did good. And then went on to high school, and high school is when things started. His last year of high school is when things started going a little downhill. A lot of things were happening in his life and in our life, in our family's life. My father was sick, and I was flying back and forth to Florida, to check on him, see about him. And during that time, Austin was he wasn't doing well, but we didn't know that. We had no clue that he was not doing well. And the kidney was declining, but we didn't know. We didn't know until it was too late when we actually found out. We were on our way. My husband was out of town, and I was on my way to the airport to go and pick him up. And Austin was not feeling well that day, and to the point that he actually said, "I need you to take me to the ER." And so I made a choice. No, I gave him a choice. I said, you either ride with me to BWI to pick up your dad, and then on our way back, we'll stop at Andrews and go, I'll take you to the ER. Or, because at that time he had just turned 18. Or I said, you could, I could drop you off. You could sign yourself in. You're 18. You can, go ahead and get started. And by the time I go get your dad from the airport and come back, you should, because ER, you're waiting all night long there. You're there until 3, 4, 5 in the morning, whatever. Mm-hmm. But thank God I dropped him off. If I had not have dropped him off, he would not be here today, because his what do you call it in your blood? It was so high. His potassium. Mm-hmm. His potassium was so high.
Oh yeah.
He was literally about to have a heart attack. And it was really it wasn't good, but we didn't know this. So by the time I got back from BWI to the ER, they had already they did not even want a chance putting Austin in an ambulance to drive from Andrews to Children's, which
Mm.
is on a good day, it's not that bad of a ride, but they didn't want to put him in an ambulance. They actually got a helicopter to fly him from Andrews to Children's that night, and it was our world turned upside down again, and that was very scary. So he did lose his kidney function. It
Mm.
declined so really badly and rapidly, and he was in need of another transplant at that point after almost graduating high school and almost, well, he did miss his prom. He did miss his prom, but he did graduate, so thank God for that. But that was another turn in his life story.
And that was
But he could talk about that because
2000.
that was where his real story kind of began, for the second time, another chance at
It, it,
life.
it's crazy because me and Austin have had these conversations a billion times in the past year and a half, man. We've known each other, and it's crazy how much our stories line up because uh, originally I was supposed to graduate 2007,
Yeah.
um, and February 2007, I got a call to get my kidney,
Mm.
and so I missed my prom, I missed graduation, all that stuff, right? And I found myself in a position because when it came to school, but it was somewhat of a good position because I wasn't. Uh, I think I wasn't even I wasn't even 18 yet, and I remember, when I went through everything. I remember my dad and my mom both going up to my school trying to figure out, how many homeschool classes I could take, to so I can graduate still and stuff like that. And I happened to get the counselor that did not know what she was doing.
Oh no.
And I remember she told my parents that I could only take 2 homeschool classes in a semester. And so it was like, what's the point of me taking 2? I'm gonna still end up back at school. And I remember my mom told my dad said the same thing, like, I didn't think you were going back. And I'm like, why would I? I can go back and still be in high school. I was going back because I felt I fought too much to get to where I am. And if I have an opportunity to, do prom, graduation, I deserve that. And so I went back, of course, through summer school. I dealt with, people trying to, clown me. So you failed and, all this other stuff. I'm like, I used to just sit there and go, man, you don't even know what you're talking about. And because I was just like Austin, like I said, we had these conversations all the time. I didn't always tell my story. Like I told you earlier, it took for me to get to college, to finally tell people exactly, what was going on in my life. And the only reason why it was only one reason why I did that. One, the reason why I told Darren was because of the fact that Darren was a really good friend when it got to the point of when I told him. And two, we were going on trips. Like I said, we were in a Students California Teachers Association, and we were doing things there. And so we were always going to conferences and stuff like that in our teachers program. So we were always kind of like out of town and things of that nature. So some of the people around me that I was always with, even leaving, they needed to know those things, and that was the only thing I really, that kind of made me say something. Otherwise, I probably would still not be telling people, um, but then it actually kind of got me to come out my shell. I still take my time with telling people, because not everybody needs to know. Some people don't have the maturity and the heart to be able to take a story like that and be serious when they get it. So, but I think it helped me as well, especially when I met Austin and met Edward, with why not? It helps me when it came to talking to people about my story. And one thing that Edward always asked me is, why not you? Like, what is your purpose? Why not you do, what you say you want to do in helping, transplant patients, whether it's pediatric or adult. So, man, it's I just took in a whole lot. So like my mind is still kind of, wow. So if you have anything, please continue. If you want to keep going, we're on your time.
Well, no,
We on Miss Lee time today.
I'm thinking about the time, like when all of that was happening, the second go around, because when I was at the house, and I still remember, I think it was like a Tuesday, I still remember, and like I was just dizzy walking around the house, like my feet were really heavy and everything. And then you remember before that, I think it was like a couple weeks before that, when we was in Jacksonville, remember I was sleeping every day. So like, yeah, like I was, and then when we got to the emergency room, and remember when they came back out, I remember the nurse came back out and she was like, "It looks like he's going into kidney failure." Because remember she said his creatinine is 17. So
Wow.
yeah, it was off. It was off the charts, and I still remember that night because I didn't want to drink whatever that was that they wanted me to drink to have.
I think it was something called K-Exolate or something like that.
Yeah, it makes you go to the bathroom.
He did not want to drink that.
It's the grossest thing on the planet.
He did not want to drink.
It is horrible.
He did not want to drink that.
Yeah, that stuff is horrible.
Yeah, but they had to put a tube. Remember, they had to put a tube down my throat, and then they had to give me medications because my heart was just like beating out of my chest, and you could see it.
Yep.
And then I was in ICU and all of that. Yeah, that was one. That was a scary night. That was a really, really scary night. And I remember, we had people from church that came to the hospital. I know Antoine was there. And one of the questions I want to ask you is, how did you manage at the time when I was born? How did you manage enough courage to be able to take care of 4 other children in the midst of having to deal with a child that's basically about that could die at any moment?
It was very hard, but you had you always have the oldest, and the next to the oldest, and so the oldest was Anthony. He had to do he had to be my ears and eyes, and then your dad had to really step in a lot because I wasn't home a lot. There were times where I would spend the night with you. A lot of times I would spend the night and come home and change or shower or whatever, and then go back. And so from Bowling Air Force Base, where we were living at that time, to Children's or Walter Reed, because it depended on the hospital, where you got sick, or there were times when I would take you to the doctor for a regular checkup, and then you'd end up in the hospital. So it could be Walter Reed or it could be Children's Hospital. And I know God was watching over us because I drove a lot back and forth through DC at all times of the night by myself. Not very dangerous streets and roads, down in that area. And I, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, sometimes leaving the hospital. It just was, it was hard, but I think our faith in God and being able to, for your dad to just pitch in as much as he could,
Right.
because he was working a full-time military job. It wasn't easy.
Yeah.
But we were a team.
Mhm.
And that included those young players, your
Yeah.
brothers and your sisters, they
Exactly.
were in there too. When you were home, they helped take care of you and made sure you were okay, and cleaning up your messes when you were throwing up, and
Yeah.
thought you would never stop, or we'd be in the car driving from one place to the other, and Austin's throwing up again. It just they just pitched in too. So it's a family thing. Everybody
Yeah.
has to. And but I did miss a lot of times, a lot of
Yeah.
time at home with them, going back and forth to school, and
Right.
some days I were there, some days I was not there, but they loved you. You were worth it.
And they still treat
And
me
they
like,
still,
like the baby. So, and then like thinking to when I had to make the decision of which dialysis to go on permanently the second time, because remember I was doing hemo, because they had to put an emergency hemo catheter in my neck. So
Right.
they put a and then you remember, because like how I said, I always view myself as being normal. So you remember we went out to eat, it was Red Lobster, and it was like little kids that was looking at my neck, and they were like, oh, he got a cat. And you remember how that made me look, how that made me feel, and everything like that, because I wasn't used to it. I wasn't used to
Right.
going out and then people just looking at me just like, oh, what's going on with him, it really, that time like really took a toll on me. And then getting to when I got the call for the second transplant. And you remember we were because I did do peritoneal dialysis the second time around, in which my older brother helped me make that decision, because I don't remember if you remember, but he was actually, like, Antoine was at the hospital with us, and he was telling me, he was like, you should do peritoneal, because he's like, if you do peritoneal, you still like to do a lot of things, like you want to go to school and you want to work, and so like you should still like pursue and try to do peritoneal. And then we did peritoneal dialysis, in which I did for 3 years. And then when the second call came in for the kidney, but you remember I got a call before. Remember I got a call before
Yes.
from Children's.
Your first call, yes.
Right, that first call came through, and then I believe it was a lady who was about to pass away, but it didn't work out. And you remember how that crushed me, like that literally, like that, like broke my heart right there. Like I didn't, because I was just like
waiting all night,
I'm gonna take
waiting
anything.
to hear.
Yeah, I'm gonna take any kidney. I mean, we went there because we got listed,
Right.
and for people who don't know, like you can get listed at more than one place, and I got listed at I was listed at Children's and then at Johns Hopkins, and I remember when we were out of town, Alabama. Remember this? And coming back on the airplane, and of course I'm saying, because I actually traveled to Southern California, because when I went to Southern California, I had went there for their renal prom, and for renal support network, and actually coming back from Alabama, I think I kind of felt that I kind of felt, honestly, that I felt like the transplant was coming at some time.
Yeah, I believe you did too. I think that's one of the reasons why you said, I hope this is the last time that I have to carry this machine through another,
right,
checking it in and all that stuff.
I'm still saying
I believe you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
But I wanted to say something about making that decision to do the peritoneal dialysis. When he was an infant and we did peritoneal dialysis, we did it. My husband and I were trained to do it for him. But then when he had to went through the kidney failure and had to go back on dialysis, and he had to make his own choice. It's funny that you say Antoine helped you make that decision, because he he was there. He was there when you were going through the first. So he kind of knew what, yeah, you could do other things and, you know, just hook up at night because he watched you do that, or he watched us do that for you when you were a baby. So I don't think I've ever heard you say it like that before. So it's kind of, I see why he, you know, your family goes through this thing with you. They know some things that you don't even know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's
and thinking about that when we got the call, when we got back, and so the children's actually knew that they had something before I went on the trip, but I think they were trying to wait for me to get back. They were trying to wait for me to get back, and they didn't want me to get like all, you know, hyped up and everything. And so when I got back, you know, I checked the voicemail, and I think you had went to work. You were at work, and I was at
work. Yeah, because you called me. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it said, I remember the coordinator. She said, "I have some great news," and then, you know, like I was just thinking that you know, maybe it's another, you know, just labs doing well and everything. And you remember, because when you used to be at work, like I was like literally going after this kidney. Like I was on the phone. If I had to be up at 8 o'clock in the morning, I had to be up at 8 o'clock in the morning to get on, to talk to a coordinator, to do whatever I needed to do in order to, you know, get in position to receive that kidney. And the thing was, when that call finally came through, and then my church as well. My church, they had prayed. We did a 40-day fast.
We had just come off of a 40-day fast.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. Had just came off of a 40-day fast, praying for me to receive a kidney.
Yeah.
And
that was one of our prayers, was that Austin would receive a kidney. And not too long after that fast ended was when he got word that he did have a transplant, someone who was stepping up to be a donor.
Yes. Yeah. And then so when I talked to the transplant coordinator, and when she was letting me know the news, I was like, no, I got to get my mom on 3-way for this. Hear this. I was like, she got to hear this. And it was emotional too, because I remember it was emotional.
Very.
Said that we had a kidney available, paired exchange program. It was 14 people, and I will be getting the kidney in the next 2 weeks. And it's so funny, and we were like leading up to the kidney, we were taking pictures of like everything, like this is the last time. Like this is the last time you're gonna do this. You know, this is the last time you're doing this.
We were all over the hospital taking pictures.
Yeah, we was all over the hospital. Yeah, it was all over the hospital taking pictures and stuff like that. And then even when I got my labs drawn, getting ready for the transplant, and then on the actual day, the transplant day, you remember how excited and worked up I was, to the point that they had to put me to sleep way earlier because I just couldn't keep myself together. Like, yeah, it was so much. Like they couldn't even get an IV. Remember, they couldn't even get an IV in me because
Austin has always been a hard stick anyways, but this was even more difficult. Yeah, more difficult. But what about leading up to being on that dialysis those 2.5, 3 years, watching videos, researching transplants, just consuming everything he could about transplants, whether it's YouTube videos or Googling things, and you know, just getting all this information. And then the day of the transplant, waking up when they were almost done, you know, closing him up, and he wakes up and he's looking up at the surgeon, and he recognizes the surgeon, oh my gosh, from a YouTube video. He had never met this man ever. Dr. Melanson, he did not know Dr. Melanson before meeting him face to face in the OR. Okay.
Wow.
But he saw videos of this man doing transplants and recognized him, and actually said that laying on that table, and had Dr. Melanson and that crew that was that team of doctors and nurses in that OR, they about fell out when Austin opened up his eyes and said, "I know you. I seen you on the YouTube video." That was amazing. That was amazing. And to this day, that's like one of the funniest things that's ever, one of the funniest stories that ever come out of this transplant was him saying that, and those doctors and nurses just could not contain themselves, and then went back to sleep. Yeah, right. He woke up and recognized the man, and then went back to sleep.
Oh yeah, that's all he needed. He was like, "Oh, okay, I'm done."
He's like, "I know you. I seen you on the YouTube videos."
I found so much joy. I found so much joy in watching people like get called and get ready, get their things ready, and getting ready to go to the hospital and get their and I think I was telling you this. I had actual dreams, because when you're thinking about stuff a lot, you have dreams about it. And I had actual dreams of getting a kidney transplant. And then, I would wake up and I'm like, oh, I didn't get it yet. But
I'm sorry. It's like, it is the way you said it. Like
it's those dreams are just so real.
Yeah, no, I've had who knows how many of those dreams. So I definitely, that's why I laugh, because it's like I said the same thing. I'm like, because it's like as soon as you open your eyes, you're like, dang, I'm still in this room. Like, like it didn't happen. I'm like, man, all right, keep fighting another day. Let's go. So I definitely get it.
I woke up from surgery, and when you wake up from surgery, like you just like high off of all types.
Right, you gone. Cloud nine. Right.
You hyped up. And so imagine being with the medications and the fact that that you got a new kidney, and you were in there, and you can tell me more about this, but they were only letting one person back at a time because of I was in the ICU, and I was immunosuppressed and stuff, just got an organ transplant. And so they only let one person back, right? And that was you, right? Okay, so when they let you back, and then that's when I woke up and remember I had told you, I was like, I'm gonna do everything. I was like, I'm just gonna do everything. Like I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. I'm just gonna do everything.
He was so high off of life at that point. I'm telling you. Yeah. And then he set out to do it. Yeah.
That's great.
Giving back. Yeah. Oh, we didn't talk about your wish.
Yeah.
When Austin, when he was after he had gotten that first transplant, he had, because he was so sick those first 4 years or whatever, and then I guess about the age of 12 or 13, about 13, I got a call about one of his nurses was asked, did Austin ever get a wish? And so they called me and they said, did Austin ever get a wish? And I'm like, no, he never got a wish. We never even thought about it. Right. So they said, well, we want to put him in to get a wish. And so a team of, I think it was a husband and wife, they came to our home to interview him and to, tell him about, we want to grant you a wish. And they gave him some options, and we kind of try to steer him towards one.
Tell people who the first wish was.
His first one was, I think, to meet some
Michael Jordan. That was Michael
Jordan. No, was it Michael Jordan? Okay, some famous person. Yes, you're right. It was.
It was Michael Jordan.
It was to meet some famous basketball player. That's what it was. Okay, so, but I think Redskin was in the mix too. But I think the main thing was Michael Jordan, and they were like, he's very hard to get. You're probably only going to spend a few minutes with him. Let's hold on to that. Hold on to that thought. So then the second one was a shopping spree. Yeah. Right. And so they said, okay, well, if you go on a shopping spree, we'll send you to wherever the Mall of America is. Yeah. And we'll give you some money, and you can just, 2-3 days and shop till you drop. And then the third one was, well, how about, a 7-day vacation for your whole family to go to Disney. That's what. So we ended up. That's what he did. But the blessed part about it is that, you know, Austin shares a birthday with Michael Jordan, so that's that's great. He both had, you know, February 17th. They're both, you know, that's their birthday. But the shopping spree, even when we went to Disney, they gave him quite a bit of money to spend. Okay.
Sure did.
And the funny thing is that at one point, when he joined the transplant team, we ended up going to, is it Minneapolis? Is that where the Mall of America is? I think it was Minneapolis. We ended up going to the Mall of America anyway. So he still got to go and got to shop. Do you remember?
Yeah, and that was that was playing games.
Yes, that was during the transplant game. So he still, you know, he still got to, you know, go to the Mall of America. But the wish was awesome. They came and picked us up in a limo. It was me, his dad, and his older brother.
Yep.
And then we all went to the airport.
Yeah.
Got on a plane, nice seats. Get to Florida. There are people waiting for us there. They take us to get a rental car. They drive us. I mean, they give us directions to get to this nice village where we're going to stay in this resort called Give Kids the World. And we're there for 7 days. We don't pay for a thing. All our food is taken care of. We eat for free. We go to Disney. We go to all the theme parks. We get to the head of the line on all the parks. We're going through the back doors, going through the private entrances, and getting on rides from the private entrance and entrances at the park, you know, on the different rides, and, you know, getting to see the back, just all kind of tours and whatnot. So it was a great experience for the whole family. And because of that, some years later, but like I said, he was 13 when that happened, but some years later, he decides, I want to go back to Give Kids the World, and I want to help. I want to go and help. So I'm like, okay, we'll do a family trip, and we'll go one summer, and we'll go to Give Kids the World, and we'll go and volunteer. We'll be volunteers over there. Well, this one particular summer, or before that summer, my church found out that Austin wanted to do this, and they're like, oh, well, we want to go. We want to do this. We're going to make it a mission trip.
Yep.
And we've been going every single year since. Every single year we go. Every single year we go. And it's a church thing. It's a mission trip. And we go and, you know, we rent a house, and we all stay in the house, and we all get up every morning and go to work at Give Kids the World, you know, volunteering to, you know, give these kids a great time there, with their wishes, you know, to be there, spending time in Orlando and Disney and all. So, you know, that's just been the story of his life, giving back, and then getting other people involved in giving back, especially his church family. Yeah, so that's one of my favorite mission trips, actually, and people who know me know that. But we didn't get to go this past summer because of COVID, but we, as soon as we can, we're right back there, and we usually spend a good week there volunteering in Orlando at Give Kids the World. Yeah, one of our favorites.
And what was I gonna say is that you've been able to do so many things in the organ donation community as a living donor as well, being able to, you know, participate in the transplant games, because I believe you won a couple of medals at the transplant games. So like, if you know, like any other people who want to be an organ donor out there, like, just share with them a little bit, you know, on some, you know, on some benefits of being an organ donor.
Well, the benefit is actually,
I didn't even know that
the main benefit
participate in that. So
yeah, and they do have events that for the transplant games, They do have events that living donors can participate in. And the main one is the 5K. Well, everybody can do that. Everybody can
Yeah.
do the 5K. But there
That
were
is
some track and field events that I participated in and medaled in. Track and field and like bowling, and
Yeah.
there was a number of them that living donors were able to participate in. But there is so much that you can help people with just by giving of a kidney. Just one kidney, I mean, will change a person's life forever. And it's a lot to go through, but it's worth it. It's worth it to see your loved one. I'm just grateful to the woman who gave him the second one, Miss Stella Christian.
Yes.
She didn't know Austin. She did not know Austin. She didn't know me. She had no clue who we were. But because she decided to give, because of a man in her church needed an organ, and they didn't need. They actually didn't even use her organ at that time, but called on her when they knew Austin needed a kidney, and she actually matched him. They asked her, would you be willing to give? And she was still willing to give. And it took her almost a year to the date of when she gave the donation to want to meet him. She wasn't sure she wanted to meet the person who got her kidney. She didn't realize the impact that the donation made on her, on his life and the lives of the people around him and his community. So when I think she went to a recognition ceremony, and it blew her mind when she saw the people who received organs and people who were being recognized for giving organs, or living donors, and even those deceased donors, families who made the decision to give their loved ones organs as gifts.
Yes.
She knew she had to start telling her story, because up until that point she wasn't telling her story. But when she went to that first recognition ceremony, then that's what prompted her to want to meet Austin and to start telling her story. And she's an amazing woman. God rest her soul. She did pass away. But knowing that God was in the mix, because had she been diagnosed with cancer before, this transplant would never have happened.
Right.
It would never have happened. So she was diagnosed almost, I want to say almost close to 2 years after she gave the her kidney, and she lived for a few years after that. And the amazing thing is the relationship that Austin had with her. Once they met, then they were inseparable.
Right.
He would go and see her. He would go and see about her when she actually had to go into a like hospice, a nursing home, when it was coming time nearing the end of her life. And though they thought it was the end of her life, she lived at least another year and a half after. They didn't think that she was going to live that long, and she was a fighter too. Miss Christian was a fighter. But Austin would go and see about her, and just spend time with her and assure her that he was going to do right by her gift, and he has. And he has to this day. Very, very, very grateful for her gift. It's allowed him to do some things that we never would have imagined. I don't even think Austin would have imagined speaking to people and traveling to workshops and getting trained to help other people dealing with kidney disease, and speaking to our representatives on the Hill, all of that, being an advocate in this arena. It's all because she allowed him that opportunity, and we're grateful for that.
Definitely.
Well, I don't have any more questions at this time, but I do want to say, Ma, that I love you with all of my heart, and I appreciate you for, coming on here to share with us. Without you, there would be no me. So I love you, love you, love you so much. And like I said, every time I see you walk in the room, I get the biggest smile. So it's just
Oh, that's the best thing.
it's just like
I love you
just like I'm in
too.
kindergarten all over again.
I love you more than life.
Yeah. So
Love you so much.
I'm
grateful.
thank you, and to Phil, my brother, I appreciate you, for helping to for us to put this first show together, and for many more to come. So, if you want to take it away from here and share a little bit on what we have to come next, go right ahead.
Thank you so much, Philip.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm indebted to you, and I'm proud. I'm so proud of you. I cannot wait to meet you.
It's gonna happen. Trust me. I don't care if I gotta walk from here to DC. It's gonna happen for sure.
You're an amazing young man.
Yes.
Amazing.
In a way, I feel like I get some of this from Austin, but keep that to myself a little bit. But no, I appreciate you both, Austin, man, for helping me put this. This doesn't happen without Austin. We kind of we talk pretty much about everything. How we're gonna do stuff, who we're gonna invite, things of that nature. So definitely appreciate you, Ms. Lee. Thank you for telling your story today for this first show.
You're welcome.
Molded this show into what it should be from here on out, and we definitely appreciate you. So this is the end of our show. Please, come back with us next week on Sunday, March 7th. We have a women's panel, man, that's powerful.
I can't wait.
You do not want to miss it,
man. I can't wait. You know what I mean? We got a whole week to get there, and I'm still like, man, Sunday yet? Like, it's going to be, hard to top this one, but it's definitely going to be a really powerful show for women, successful women who have either given a kidney, they have some type of relationship with kidney donation. We have 2 kidney donors. We have a support system. We have a recipient. So you're gonna get the story from all angles of transplant life, and we look forward to it. So for everybody that came in, left, stayed the whole time, we appreciate you. Thank you for showing up for this first show. We hope you continue to come back. Subscribe to the YouTube channel Second Chance, and we will see you next week. God bless you.
God bless you. Thank you all.
Thank you.